What scale is that? It's C. I was wondering. Om. 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 गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् हृदाकाशे सदा भान्तं शान्तमानन्दरूपिणं ज्ञानभानुमहं वन्दे सद्गुरुं सत्यसायिनम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Offering our collective love at the divine lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hari Om, Shalom, Sai Ram, Namaste. Offering our collective love at Swami's divine lotus feet. We will be starting the 7th Anuvakam today, having completed 6 Anuvaka. Aruna Prishna has totally 32 Anuvaka. So you can calibrate yourselves how long you have come. We have come 20% through Aruna Prishna. And the context of the 7th Anuvakam onwards will be in this next few Anuvaka. Incredible knowledge about Surya Mandalam, time, death will be discussed. Only thing you don't want to discuss is that which is damn certain in life. We are all so caught up in planning for what is so uncertain in life. We are planning incredibly all this uncertainty called living. But for every person that is born, one thing that is guaranteed for sure is a death. Have you ever thought that in life you never plan for what is certain and you only plan for what is uncertain? But the spiritual people really plan for what is definite and certain. What is definite is death. So the whole life is planning about death. Sounds crazy, no? Uh, sounds crazy. The only thing you plan about is what is definite. What is definite? What is certain? What is permanent? What is eternal? What is the purpose of all of this? That's what spirituality is about. But 90% of our lives is all about planning what is uncertain, what is unreal, what is transient, what is delusionary, and the rest of the stuff. So from that, you can understand how backward human intelligence is. uh, how backward our intelligence is. So this beautiful Anuvaka starts with the description of the Surya Mandalam. And we will start with the mantra number 20. And thanks. Oh, by the way, after the last class, one young adult asked a beautiful question on WhatsApp, and I also posted an answer to that. We talked only about conflict last time. We did not talk about how to resolve the conflict. So if you go back about to the class transcript, and the question that was asked by this young adult was, how do we resolve the conflict with the senseless government laws and regulations which create conflict in our lives? And she was also referring to Nelson Mandela's story. How did he deal with that conflict of baseless, senseless government regulations like apartheid, which is central to the study that we were doing on conflict resolution? And maybe Chandrasekhara, can you pull that up? And if you look at the class transcript, let's put the conflict aside and get into understanding the sun, the Surya Mandalam. How to resolve this conflict? How did the great souls like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Bhagavan Buddha, the teachings associated with conflict resolution, which is so important in our lives? Because last week we were talking about conflict between teacher student, conflict between wife and husband, conflict between two friends, conflict in the context of a priest and a performer. All those things we were talking about. And we said conflict arises when there is discordance between the observer and the observed. So to get over, that's the context of how do we deal, how can we deal and resolve the inner conflict arising from mindless government laws that impact the individual and the public. So the most important thing about conflict resolution is, are you reacting or are you responding? So conflict resolution does not mean, or not getting into conflict doesn't mean that you don't fight. You don't fight it in the context of the usual processes of fighting. Instead, you deeply go into yourself and fundamentally ask the question, what is your psychological reaction to all that? And the psychological reaction you get, if the psychological reaction is what you see as fear, injustice, stress, all those things, please go up, Sairam. I'm still. Then you first, yeah, you first connect to that, you look at it without deviating from it, observing the reaction that arises within you. What is your psychological reaction to such a thing? And then you first come over that hmm, psychological storm that is created within you. That means that you don't suppress it, you observe it. You don't react to that. You just see it. And then what will happen is that observation itself begin to resolve any inner conflict. Even observe, this is not only with respect to governments and all, with dealing with other people also. And you will get some reactions, which is like, I am powerless, they're evil, bad people, this and that. Those also have to be come over. You do not individualize the issue. You don't personalize a problem. So do not personalize the problem. Look at the problem as it is. Then acknowledge that and deal with that as your own inner conflict. And then instead of the moment you are totally observing it without any conflict within you, then you are able to see clearly and wholesome without any resistance, without any escape, without any. This is very important in life. Sometimes we don't even do things and we don't even observe that we are so actionless about our own lives, and we think that we are very calm within ourselves. Therefore I will do whenever the time comes, whatever, all that nonsense, just throw it outside. There is nothing called specific muhurtam, good time, all that thing for doing action, especially action related to resolving the conflicts within. If you are jobless and you're dependent on others, the first thing you have to observe with yourself is what happened to my fundamental value of self sustenance. And therefore, you focus on it. You ask the question, what is the stigma that is associated with it? And that stigma is your own inner conflict. Somebody just asked me, brother, can we start a podcast with you? I said, what is podcast? I don't even know what podcast is. Dealing with life situations using these beautiful principles that Vedas are teaching, how powerful they are. So the next step, I put in this thing for whatever it is worth it. How to deal next thing, next page, a step by step process as intelligent response to whatever conflict you have in life. It could be government, it's your own inner conflict, nothing to do with another person. People undergo conflict within themselves, fighting their own mind. That's why getting professional help from a psychologist is nothing wrong about it. There's nothing what we call as inferior about it. This is a stigma associated with many people, that going seeing a psychologist when they have an inner conflict with themselves, not with others, is something bad. That people will look at, oh, you went to a psychologist, you must be a crazy. No, nothing like that. You go for a physical exam every year or every 2 years to get your cholesterol checked and all of that stuff. And if you go and do that, there is nothing called, oh, you went to a physical checkup, you must be a sick person. No, physical checkup is not for only sick people. Physical checkup is also important for healthy people. Similarly, a psychologist help is not for mentally ill people. A psychologist help can be even for mentally healthy people when they do not know how to deal with their own minds. But if you are intelligent enough and you are able to see yourself, and which most of us are not, we can observe the faults of other people much quickly than our own faults. You may be all thinking, what is all this to do with Arunam? I'm going back to the previous class. Anyonyasmai drushyatam. Naivam vidushacharyan vasinau. Anyonyasmai drushyatam. Yo drushyati bhrasyate swargalokat. Their swargalokam doesn't mean some bloody heaven. Don't live a life, this life, for the sake of a heaven, which nobody has gone and seen and came back and said, it's a nice place to be. Hell is a place where you have conflict within yourself or with mostly with yourself. Heaven is a place where there is no conflict. Heaven is a place where the mind is higher in its awareness. So please, brothers and sisters, especially the youth, especially today's youth who have gone so introvertic. They don't have a venue for expression, especially youth who come over to foreign countries from to a foreign country. They have to seek help, and seeking help is not a inferior thing. Oh, I don't need this. I am fine. How many kids just respond to us? How is it going? Fine. How was the class today? Good. That means shut up, I don't want to talk to you. So that means they're not connected. And that creates conflict within us. If you see a child that is non-responsive to you and they say everything properly to you, they'll say everything is fine. They will acknowledge, oh, this and that, but they don't do any damn thing about it. That means they need help. They're conflicted inside. So go inside, observe your own reaction, see what is the thought is playing. Drop the bloody ideals. This is how it should be. This is what it should be. And then, as the fourth thing, stay awake, remain alert. Then that will come to clarity that is completely intelligent, responsive, understand it wholly. Don't make any judgments. Fear is fear, accept it. Stress is stress, accept it. When you are tired, say, I am tired. Look at tiresomeness. Don't substitute the problem with some other thing. I have fear, therefore I want to chant Anjaneya Nama. Anjaneya bloody won't help you, I am telling you. Anjaneya helps you escape your fear temporarily. And then fear comes again. And then pray to Anjaneya again. Become the Anjaneya. Be the Anjaneya. See the fear. Follow the master. Face the devil. Fight to the end. Finish the game. That is what Bhagavan said. That means face the devil. He very clearly said, face the devil. That means you don't escape from a problem. Look at it, deal with it, clear it, and then with clarity, you will get 100% resolution of the conflict. And then once that wholesome aspect of inner conflict is resolved, then you are ready to fight injustice. Otherwise, you cannot fight injustice. That is the example of Mahatma Gandhi. That is the example of Nelson Mandela. They did not give scope to emotions. They did not give scope to commotions. They looked at a problem. They studied it wholesome. Inside of them, there was no conflict. Therefore, Nelson Mandela was able to deal with the situation without personalizing against anybody who has mistreated him, ill-treated him. There was nothing like their injustice, their fools, this and that. He came out and he was able to collaborate or even call for collaboration. That's a magnanimously non-conflicting, non-violent individual. He might have started his life like that, but he came over his own inner conflict, and that's the wholesome aspect of that. So with that now, we are ready to, with the clarity of intelligence, you are ready to get into looking at Surya Mandalam. All the seasons, how they are described, how beautifully we have come to a point. Then we said, It Yirutu Mandalani, Surya Mandalanyakhyayika, Atha Urdhvagum Sanirvachana. And that is the mantra number 20. Now, please project this, Sairama. Om. And when we are looking at this mantra, Arogo Bhrajaf Pataraha Patangaha Swarnaraha Jyotishiman Vibhasaha. 7 names are invoked. Let's chant the mantra first. Arogo भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः
ॐ आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः ॐ आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः.
Okay, I forgot to give you the words first. Arogo bhrajaha pataraha patangaha.
आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः.
स्वर्णरो ज्योतिषीमान् विभासः.
स्वर्णरो ज्योतिषीमान् विभासः.
ते अस्मै सर्वे दिवमातपन्ति.
ते अस्मै सर्वे दिवमातपन्ति.
ऊर्जन्दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
ऊर्जन् दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
अनपस्फुरन्त ह अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
अनपस्फुरन्त इति. Is it Mahaprana?
Yeah, sphu. Yeah, should be
So,
sphu. Anapasphu. Oh, it's not.
yeah, it's missing. The Mahaprana is missing here. We'll fix it.
1 minute. Let me check also. Sphu should be pakara. PH. Arogo bhrajaf pataraf patangah.
ॐ आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः. आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः.
स्वर्णरो ज्योतिषीमान् विभासः.
स्वर्णरो ज्योतिषीमान् विभासः. स्वर्णरो ज्योतिषीमान् विभासः.
There should be a slight pause after that. Man is halantam.
Yes.
And then vibhasaha is a separate word. Yeah, there is a comma there, correct? Yeah. Te asmai sarve divamatapanti.
ते अस्मै सर्वे दिवमातपन्ति. ते अस्मै सर्वे दिवमातपन्ति.
Urjanduhana anapaspuranta iti.
ऊर्जन्दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति. ऊर्जन्दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
The swaritam is on ra, not on the sphu. Urjanduhana anapaspuranta iti.
ॐ ऊर्जन्दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
Good.
ऊर्जन्दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
Om Arogo Bhrajaf Pataraf Patangah Swarnaro Jyotishiman Vibhasah Te Asmai Sarve Divamatapanti Urjanduhana Anapaspuranta iti.
ॐ आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः स्वर्णरोज्योतिषीमान् विभासः ते अस्मै सर्वे दिवमातपन्ति ऊर्जन्दुहाना अनपस्फुरन्त इति.
So the pada, arogaha, bhrajaha, pataraha, patangaha, swarnaraha, jyotishiman, vibhasaha. 7 names are mentioned. And then the next line is saying, te sarve, all of these, te sarve divam atapanti, te asmai sarve divam atapanti. Asmai, for the sake of the for the sake of everyone or for the sake of all, te sarve, those 7, asmai, for the sake of all, divam means the sky, atapanti, they have spread across the sky. Who has spread across the sky? Arogaha, Bhrajaha, Pataraha, Patangaha, Swarnaraha, Jyotishiman, Vibhasaha. All these 7. For the sake of all, those 7 have spread across the space or the sky. Divam Atapanti. Why did they do that? By doing so, they enable Urjanduhana Anapaspuranta iti. Duhana, they make it possible to produce Urjam, that is food. Anapaspuranta iti. They help make it possible to produce food. Urjam, that means that which gives energy. Urja, wherever you say, that is what it means. Now, Anapaspuranta means without causing any harm, these enable this food. So essentially what this mantra is saying is, the 7 named from Aroga to Vibhasa illumine both the sky and the earth. They also make it possible, they are spread across the entire space and make it possible to produce food for the sake of earth without causing any harm or injury. So these are the 7 names mentioned here of sun god. Aroga. Roga means disease. Aroga means health. Bhraja means shininess. Patara is ray. Patanga is a flyer. Swarna, golden luster. Jyotishiman, effulgence. Vibhasa means that which is bright. Vibhasa also means reflection. That which is also the brightness in a reflection. So therefore, abhasa, vibhasa. Abhasa, vibhasa. Abhasa is projection. Vibhasa is the source. But any rate, I'm giving those meanings because all of those are enabled by these 7. So it is also, interestingly, they also represent the 7 colors associated with the visible light spectrum. As we already learned about in the Vasanta, what is the Saragavastrair Jaradakshaha? Sa Araga Vastaye. So Aroga, Araga, those represent the red color. Vibhasa is the violet. Swarnara is golden or yellow. Patara and Patanga are blue and green colors. Bharaja is indigo. Jyotishi is orange. So the commonly known as Vibjyar, or in some country it is Roy Gibb, spanning 3000 to 7000 angstrom units of wavelength. That is what are the seven colors described, and those are the connection to how they span the sky. What is perceived light spectrum? That perceived light spectrum is important for production of food, because the total light spectrum, I already went through that in another class. It's the total light spectrum that is important for the plants to make the food. One single light color will not enable total food production. So therefore, for producing the food, all the seven colors are needed. And if you notice it, those seven colors, those seven colors of the visible spectrum do not cause any harm to individuals. It's only the excessive light that is below the blue and above the red that are associated with causing harm. And we'll get into that later, what causes harm. So now, the one who is associated with the seven colors, and the seven also associated with the seven horses, the seven associated with the seven. Now you can go on with the seven. So, if there is an implication, anapaspuranta iti, if they said these seven do not cause any harm and enable food production, and they are spanning the sky. Now, if you look at that statement, that means there is something else that also causes harm. Anapaspuranta iti. You all know this, I guess. For those of you refresher in spectroscopy, above the red is infrared and microwaves and radio waves. By the way, 1 angstrom unit is equal to 10 to the power of -8 centimeters. So the visible spectrum 7000. After that is the 7000 is the red. After that is the infrared, microwaves, radio waves, and radio waves will span for miles and miles. That's how their wavelength spread. And they also are experienced as microwaves experience as heat. But however, radio waves and those, they do not cause harm. The invisible below the violet, the UV rays, the X rays, and the lowest as in gamma rays, they could potentially cause harm. So the next mantra talks about there is a eighth component. There is a Ashtamaha. And that's the next mantra. Let's look at the next two lines. Kasyaposhtamaha.
Kashyapostamaha.
Sa Mahamerunna jahati.
Sa Mahamerunna jahati.
Tasyaisha bhavati.
Tasyaisha bhavati.
Kasyaposhtamaha.
Om Kashyapostamaha.
Not
Om.
tha. Ashtama. Ashtama, not tha. No mahaprana.
Yes.
Kasyaposhtamaha.
Om Kashyapostamaha. Om Kashyapostamaha.
Samahamerunna jahati.
स महामेरुन्न जहाति स महामेरुन्न जहाति
तस्यैषा भवति
तस्यैषा भवति तस्यैषा भवति
कस्यपोष्टमः समहामेरुन्न जहाति तस्यैषा भवति
ॐ कश्य ॐ कश्यपोष्टमः समहामेरुन्न जहाति तस्यैषा भवति.
So the words Kasyapaha, Ashtamaha. The eighth is called Kashyapa. Saha Mahamerum na Jahati. Saha means that or he, na Jahati, does not leave Mahameru. This eighth thing does not leave Mahameru. Tasyaha Esha Bhavati. This is how that happens. This eighth thing is called Kashyapa. And he does not leave the Mahameru. And now the next mantra will talk about how that is. This is how it happens. Tasya Esha Bhavati. Now Kashyapa here, as many people have incorrectly translated, is not a rishi. Kashyapa here, there is a Kashyapa called Prajapati, there is a Kashyapa Maharshi that has two concerts, Aditi, Diti, and from Aditi, gods came, from Diti, the demons, the Daityas came, and all of that stuff. But in understanding this mantra, this Kashyapa is nothing to do with a human individual. This Kashyapa is not an individual. This Kashyapa is a phenomenon. And that phenomenon is associated with this Surya Mandalam. Kashyapa may have been given the name of this Surya Mandalam Kashyapa. Yeah. For example, if your name is Surya, hello, if your name is Surya, you are not the sun. You are given the name of sun called Surya. So similarly, there are gods that get the names from the spiritual context, but this is not Kashyapa Prajapati. This is a phenomenon. See, what happens is people hear the names and they know that is associated with something and they tie it up. Like what we're saying, Shukrante Anyat Yajitante Anyat. That mantra is nothing to do with Shukra Graha. But they use it for Shukra Graha because there is a Shukram in that. But when we study the meaning of that mantra is nothing to do with Shukra Graha. We went through that. Similarly, in the mantra before there is Saraswati. That Saraswati is nothing to do with goddess Saraswati who is holding a veena, wearing a white sari and then moving a rosary. So do not, because we know a name, this is where real study happens. When you really have a study about it, then you understand what this Kashyapa is. You're saying it is eighth. Kashyaposhtamaha, Kashyapa Ashtamaha. And then what is saying? Samaha merunna jahati. It never leaves. That thing, that Kashyapa never leaves the Mahameru. Then the next question is, what is Mahameru? And why does this Kashyapa does not leave Mahameru? So the eighth Kashyapa that is not perceived by the humans and it does not leave Mahameru. Mahameru means Maha, means supreme. Meru means that which is huge, can be related to a mountain. Mahameru does not mean a mountain. Mahameru means that magnanimous thing which can be inferentially compared to look like a huge mountain. This is a really, what is this Mahameru? Every religion has a Mahameru in it. So there is this thing called the cosmic central axis. Cosmic central axis. And this cosmic central axis is what is described in Hinduism, in Jainism, in Buddhism. In Buddhist mythology also there is this cosmic central axis. And the Sri Vidya Upasakas, those that worship the Shakti Upasakas, Sri Vidya, they have created this thing called Mahameru, which is the verticalization of the Sri Chakra, and the tip of which is representing the Shiva and the Shakti. That is definitely not the Mahameru that is pointed out here. We have to keep looking at these mantras, and as you go in and dig deep, the secrets will be exposed, but sometimes they're hidden, sometimes they're explicit. So, what that Mahameru, I definitely do not know. What that Kashyapa also is not clear. Some people have interpreted that there are several spheres. You have heard those spheres. There is atmosphere, there is stratosphere, there is ionosphere, and so on and so forth. There are several Nobel Prizes in physics that were given to individuals for studying these spheres. One of them is Sir Edward Appleton. If this is too much information, you can ignore, because if you care about only spirituality, uh, which means knowing mantras and chanting them without knowing what they mean. But when we are studying this, the purpose and intent is integrated wisdom, which does not leave science apart. You should not alienate or eliminate modern science from the study of spirituality. If you do so, your perspective of spirituality is religious. It is not complete. It is not integrated. So, brothers and sisters, why I am explicitly started talking about is this mind has been also studying all of this. What is this thing? I know the seven rays. And of course, they go from violet to red. And those are the ones that are relatable. Those are the visible spectrum. I know UV, I know infrared. We know all of this. We studied them in physics and science. And then suddenly, what is this eighth thing? So, this Sir Edward Appleton, he did some incredible experiments where they used what's called the Geiger-Müller counter, and they have taken it in balloons up, and then they were starting to study how for detecting various ions and their concentrations in the atmosphere. For example, there are many layers of ionized gases generated by the sun, and some do not enter the earth, and some harm. So, UV radiation is something that harms us. So, what is it that protects us from the UV radiation? The ozone hole. There is the ozone layer. By the way, when I went to Chile sometime on a business trip, they told me that there is a ozone hole in Antarctica. There is a ozone hole. And so because of the hole, the UV radiation will come and it will harm the people. And sometimes what happens is that ozone hole in the atmosphere will move to the southern countries. So therefore, there are these stations that track these ozone holes. And in Chile, they were telling me that those stations track and they send warnings to people to protect them from intense UV radiation. So what is this? Is this is this is this eighth thing they're talking about? Are they cosmic rays? Are they ionized radiations? And if that is the case, and they don't enter the earth, they are protected from earth, therefore they don't really enter the earth sphere. I mean, is that what they're talking about? I'm asking only questions. I don't have answer. If any of you are wise enough to give me the answer, I'll be happy to learn as well. But from what I have been looking at, it's a mystery to what this eighth one is that is referred to as Kashyapa, and that is beyond perception. And also, it does not reach earth because Samahamerunna Jahati. It never leaves this Mahameru. It is only confined to that access. It doesn't come onto earth. It is not perceived. Only seven are perceived. Tasya isha bhavati. Ah, now the next mantra goes into giving a little more insight into this thing, Kashyapa, but not really describing what it is, but describing what it does. So let's go into the next three lines to complete this mantra 20. Yatte silpang kashyapa rochanavat
यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यप रोचनावत्
indriyavat pushkalan chitrabhanu
इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु
yasmin surya arpita saptasakam
यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिता सप्तसाकम्
tasmin rajana madhivishrayemamiti. Four lines. So that's a complete thought there.
तस्मिन् राजान मधि विश्रये ममिति.
Correct. Okay. So, yes. So the mantra here is talking about the glory of this Kashyapa, mostly referring to that. Okay, let's look at the mantra. Yat te silpang kashyaparo
ॐ
Mm,
यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत्
your Shruti has down. Om Yat
ॐ
Yatte Shilpang Kashyapa Rochanavat
ॐ यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत् यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत्
Indriyavat Pushkalanchitrabhanu
इन्द्रियावत् sorry ॐ इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु
Yasmin Surya Arpita Saptasakam
यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिता सप्तसाकम् यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिता सप्त साकम्
तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति
तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति
यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत् इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिताः सप्तसाकम् तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति
ॐ यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत् इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिता सप्तसाकम् तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रये तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति
Chant one more time.
ॐ यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत् इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिता सप्तसाकम् तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति
No, Vishraya, not Shra is not the Swaritam. Vishrayemamiti. Okay,
तस्मिन् yeah
one more time. Yeah, full four line.
full okay ॐ यत्ते शिल्पं कश्यपरोचनावत् इन्द्रियावत् पुष्कलं चित्रभानु यस्मिन् सूर्या अर्पिता सप्तसाकम् तस्मिन् राजानमधिविश्रयेममिति
So, excuse me. So this is Tasya Isha Bhavati. This is how it is going to happen, was the previous line said. So Kashyapa, this Kashyapa or O Kashyapa, addressing it to Kashyapa, Silpam Yat Te, this diversified appearance of yours, Chitra Bhanu. Chitra means not wonder in Sanskritam. Chitra means picture. Bhanu means shining. A shining, diversified picture of yours or the appearance of yours. Rochanavat, that is radiant. Pushkalam, which is complete. Indriyavat, illumines or nourishes the senses. Indriya. Then along with you, okay, then Yasmin, in that appearance of yours, Sapta Surya, the 7 suns, Sakam, together, Arpitah, are also present in that. Tasmin Rajanam Adhivishrayemam. Okay, I didn't say the words, right? I'm sorry, I should have first said the words. Yat te Shilpam Kashyapa Rochanavat Indriyavat Pushkalam Chitrabhanu Yasmin Surya Arpitah Saptasakam Tasmin Rajanam Adhi Vishraya Imam Iti. When you actually understand the words, it is much more easy to remember and chant. Then if you miss something, then you know that you missed the meaning associated with it. Tasmin Rajanam Adhi Vishraya Imam Iti is Adhi Vishraya Imam Iti. So therefore, is saying Kashyapa, it's now we are extolling his beautiful, diversified appearance in which all the seven suns are present, completely radiant and illumining all the actions. Then, yes, then Tasmin Rajanam Adhivishraye Mamiti. Tasmin, in that, Imam means this ritual performer, Rajanam, may he be radiant, Adhivishraya, be present in a higher state. Iti, be it. Okay. So putting all that all together, what is it saying, those four lines? That the seven suns that are present together in this thing called Kashyapa, they get their radiance because of their presence in this Kashyapa. But what is this now? They left and they came onto the earth. But this guy is not coming onto earth, he is staying with Mahameru. Sa Mahameru na Jagati. So that means the source of these seven is coming from this Kashyapa, and this Kashyapa is the one, it is his or her or that. I don't know, Kashyapa is a male or female. But in the context of a gender association, the word Kashyapa could be male only, but be that may. So these seven are coming from that, and their beautiful radiant appearance is derived from that Kashyapa. Yasmin, in that of yours, Sapta Surya, the seven suns, Sakam together, Arpita are present, and that same radiance may that illumine this performer of the ritual and take him to a higher state of presence and existence. That is the essence of this particular. Did I chant the four lines together, Saram? I think so, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this mantra essentially is invoking this Surya Mandala as eight components, the seven who permeate the earth and also permeate the space, responsible for giving food, and those do not cause any harm. But then there is eighth one called Kashyapa, which never leaves this incredible axis, a magnanimous axis called Mahameru, and that is the one that is in which all these seven are to begin with present and get their radiance from that, and to that is a prayer now. It closes like almost a prayer. May the same Kashyapa illumine the ritual performer who is doing the Arunaketu Kachayana, and may he be, in doing so, taken to a higher level of existence or higher level of presence by this Kashyapa. That is the 20th mantra. We went into one line extra to get the complete picture of that Kashyapa. And then the rest of the mantra 21 also describes how that happens. Tasyaisha bhavati, how that is happening, how do they get the radiance, and where is that radiance uh, taking them, and how does that more fundamentally, how does that relate? to an individual, what is the same thing happening within an individual. That is all going to be, we'll look at that aspect of it tomorrow. Okay, let's what is the time now? Oh, 5:01. Okay, perfect. Let's chant Yadakshara Padabhrashtam. Chandrasekhara.
ॐ यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं तु यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव नारायण नमोऽस्तु ते विसर्गबिन्दुमात्राणि पदपादाक्षराणि च न्यूनानि चातिरिक्तानि क्षमस्व सागीश्वर अपराधसहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्निशं मया दासोऽयमिति मां मत्वा क्षमस्व सागीश्वर अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष सागीश्वर हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री सागीश्वरार्पणमस्तु.
There is a comment here. It is Sir Arthur Eddington. Yes, there is another physicist called Sir Arthur Eddington. But what I was referring to is Sir, um, this is Edward Appleton. That's what I am referring to. Edward Appleton is also a British, Sir Edward Victor Appleton. He was a English or a British atmospheric physicist who received Nobel Prize in 1947, I believe, for the upper atmosphere. He used the Geiger-Müller counter and defined ionosphere, and it's called Appleton layer, and that is who I was referring to. Yes, there is another physicist, I believe, Sir. Yes, there is another physicist with Eddington, but they're not one and the same. I don't know if Eddington received a Nobel Prize. Yeah, he's also an English astronomer, a physicist, and a mathematician. He discovered luminosity of the stars and the radiation generated by the stars. But I don't think he received Nobel Prize. I'm not sure. But anyway, I was referring to Appleton. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Sairam, I have a comment or connection, trying to connect the conflict resolution that you said. The first step is to observe.
Mm,
I believe
mm.
in the Sandhyavandanam classes, when you were explaining about the Kamokarishit mantram, there also it's the same thing. Like, you're not associating with yourself with the anger or the desire. You are separate from that. So just a observation connecting to this mantra, the previous one.
Yes, there is a, where is, that is good observation. Observation is always a good thing. Somebody posted about, send me a message. Yeah, I think it's a Harisha asking the reference to the river flowing. Isn't it an inference versus direct observation? Yes, that is also true. The river example is a upamana. Upamana is associated with the simile, analogy, and that is an analogy which can be categorized as inference. But if you act, it's also a direct observation. In your direct observation, seconds, minutes, hours, days, fortnights, months, they're all coming together and they're flowing together. So it's also a direct observation. But it is used as a simile or an analogy to describe so that we are more physically connected to that aspect of it. Okay. Now there is another person. I don't want to name, but they're confused about these practice classes and about syllables and all of that stuff. There should not be any confusion. If you have learned it incorrectly, it's better time to learn it correctly. See, what happens is the confusion is occurring with respect to anuswaras. Um, so, um, when we are, what was the thing that specific if the person is on the class, maybe they can ask that question. Is the person on the class? I think who was the person that sent? I get so many emails about these classes and everything. Sometime I lose track of who is sending what. Was there someone who is that Ananta? Who was the one that was asking about these syllables? Is it Ananta? Oh no, it is Shalini. Shalini. Is Shalini on the phone? Shalini Anant on the class today? Is Shalini Anant on the class? Okay. I- Okay, she's not there. I thought she would ask the question for the benefit of everybody. That's okay. So, are there any other questions or comments?
Anna,
Yes, Ma.
um, how different is this mantra to the mantra we did before in eighth mantra? Akanjanagum. What was that?
Yes, Akanjanagum Saptadhamahure Kajam
Yeah,
Shadudyama Rishyo Devaja iti Teshamishta Nivihita Nidhamasaka Sthatre Rejante Vikrutani Rupashaka. Then it comes
right.
Konu Mariyamithitaha.
Right.
Okay. So,
So I was thinking, wouldn't it be like this? The Kashyapa itself is the sun, and then I mean, I'm talking from the point of view of within us. So Kashyapa being the sun, which and then the Meru is like our spine, and then it kind of it's within us, but it doesn't leave us. How different it is from the mantra 8.
that's not the way I understood the mantra yet. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Don't extrapolate it. The rishis will explain. They're very kind. They don't leave you hanging there. They will explain. Yes, we will understand that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sairam. Okay. Are people having a problem with syllables, reading syllables in Telugu or Sanskritam, etc.? Huh? Is anybody else having problem reading syllables? It is actually very easy to read syllables in Devanagari and Telugu and the Indian languages than reading syllables in English, because it's all you have to combine the letters. But it's all written together in Devanagari. It should be easier. Okay. All right. But don't give up practices. Stay with the course. Go to practices. And sometimes maybe the facilitator may not be able to explain why it goes like that, etc. In that case, seek clarity and learn together. Let us all be together, nourish together. It's not that anybody is a super expert here, including the speaker. We're not experts. We are all learning it together. And in learning together, there should not be any conflict. Anyonyasmai druhyatam. That is applying practice, Anyonyasmai druhyatam. Oh, I am conflicted with these syllables, therefore I don't want to come to practice is a conflict. But if you look at it clearly and say, oh, why is it like this? And you understand it better, it helps tremendously. Helps tremendously. So that's the context of learning, Even in learning, there will be conflicts. You may not be able to see the same point of view, but let's seek clarity. Jai Sairam. I hope
Sairam,
people are
Sairam Ravi
attending.
Shankar, Sairam. It's Brinda. I just want to
Ah,
say on that note about syllables and conflict and you said stay on the class and try not to give it up. For me personally, your transcripts are very helpful because thank you for sending them. Thank you for giving us so much of clarity in the transcripts. And after the class, and when you send it, it actually makes so much more sense once we go through the transcript. So thank you very much.
Jai Saira. That is the whole
Saira.
purpose of it. And if you have questions that come that you're blocked about after a class, don't hesitate to send an email or send a message. We'll do our best to understand it. That question that was asked, yes. Oh, there was a Manas Day. Thank you. You raised your hand. I was, brother. I think with this syllables earlier on. I think what you are talking about is the chandas part of it and the ganas and all of that part of it. That is not what we are calling as a syllable. Here, a syllable is just a single letter or a that's not what I was referring to in the context of chandas. I think previously you were mentioning this. I wanted to, yeah,
Just now you are mentioning about the syllable. I thought I need some more clarity. Now you have just mentioned that Chandas is not linked to this. In
yes,
Chandas, they say Laghu and Guru. They say
correct.
if the swara Laghu Salpa swara is connected with a joint word connection, then it becomes dirgha. It
Correct,
becomes
correct, correct.
dirgha. Since
No,
and
that is no. It becomes a guru. It becomes there's a laghu guru. Is how many matras are associated with samyuktakshara? How many matras are associated with a long vowel? That is related to the laghu guru, which is associated with chandas. But that's not what I am talking about. That's not what we are calling as a syllable here. Okay, this is purely for pronunciation purposes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. No, I also wanted to mention about that to you because I was trying to help you understand. Now I understand what you are referring to is laghus and gurus and how many values are assigned to a laghu and a guru so that it fits the chandas and all of that stuff. That's not what we are talking here. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else as this is good?
So, Anna, when we were discussing about Itrutu, Manjalani, that is one matra or a kind of one and a half.
You're breaking up. Let me see what is causing the breakup.
Oh, Brother Manas,
Okay.
can you? Yeah.
Okay, can you please say again? Oh,
So,
Ityurutu Mandalani. That okay. In that Ityurutu Mandalani. So there, Takara, Yakara, and Ritva, all the three come together as one Samyuktaksharam, right? Because it's an oval. The Ritvam is a oval. So Ityurutu Mandalani. So Thiru becomes the syllable in chanting purposes. That's not the syllable for Chandas. Okay, let me be very clear so that we are not confused about that. So how it is written in Devanagari, Ta, Ya, and Ritva are together written as one component. They're not broken out. So that helps a lot. It really helps in pronunciation. So you have to pronounce Thiru as one component, right? Chiru, tu, man. Okay, what are the e, chiru, tu, ma, nda, la, ni. So nda becomes the syllable pronunciation component. So you have to pronounce the anunasikam also means the nda has to nda. So anunasikam nasal along with the consonant should be pronounced together. I, chiru, tu, ma, nda, la, ni. But what has happened in written scripts right now is if you go to old scripts of Devanagari, they won't split mum and da. They will write as ana and then they'll put the da underneath that. They'll put the ana and they put the da underneath that. So it is pronounced together as nda, la, ni. That's why we are putting those phonetic superscripts of the Anunasikas. Are we
right.
good?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was talking about from the point of view of the matra then. The matra will be one for all that together. I mean, for that
Okay.
three.
The matras that we are talking in Vedic chanting are associated whether it is a long or a short.
Right. So
So
it's
is ru is R as a vowel. Is it long or short?
It's short.
Okay. So Itchirutu Mandalani. So I'm using only one matra for that.
Yeah, that was the question in the class. That's
Okay. Okay. Anything else? So it's not Itchirutu Mandalani. There is no dirgham there. It's a short vowel. Okay. Yes, brother Manas, what is saying?
I have a question related to Swasti Prajapati. In the last line, Loka Samastaha, why don't you say Samastas? It is continuous. So why you are breaking here?
Yeah. Okay, very good. The original shlokam, it's a shlokam, by the way. It's not a Veda mantra, just to be clear. Swastif Prajabhyah Paripalayantam is a shloka. It is not a Veda mantra. Nobody knows who the author is. Like Shuklam Bradharam Vishnum is a shloka. Nobody knows who the author is. So this Swastif Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishah Gobrahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. That is the original script. Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Then what people did not understand, that Loka Samasta, it has to be chanted as the sakara has to be emphasized. Why? Because it is Loka Samasta Sukhinah Bhavantu. So those are the words. Lokah Samastah Sukhinah Bhavantu. So in Sandhi what happens? Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Then what happened? Lot of people in Puttaparthi were chanting Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Then Swami noticed that they're chanting incorrectly and they're not chanting Loka Samasta. They're not chanting like that. Swami decided to say, move the Samasta and then gave a pause. It's at least they know Samasta Loka. There are many worlds, and then let them all be happy. Sukhinaha bhavantu. So that was changed by Bhagavan Sri Satsai Baba on a one day afternoon, and then from there most of the Sai devotees are chanting, because Swami has said it is many worlds, it is not one single world, and therefore he is the one that said samasta lokah sukhino bhavantu, and we have been following that. But technically speaking, even there, technically it should be chanted as samasta lokah sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Then if you say, what happens is samasta loka sukhino bhavantu, and if they don't put the proper emphasis on the su, then it will be samasta loka will be incorrect. Lokah is the correct. So if you don't understand these syllables, and if you didn't understand that that sa has to be pronounced with the su, so it should be sukhino bhavantu, then you will be making a mistake and you will be intending a different meaning for it. So therefore, for heaven's sake, we are chanting samasta lokah sukhino bhavantu. That is the proper understanding around that, brother. Hope that helps. Okay. Now, even that is chanted, even the first three lines have to be chanted properly. Swastif prajabhyah paripalayantam Nyayena margena mahim mahishaka. It is not nyayena, it is not mahim, it is mahim, mahishah. I explained that before also. Mahim, difference, no? Mahim is earth. Mahisha means the ruler of the earth. And Nyayena is Chaturthi Vibhakti in Sanskritam, which means emphasizing the Nyaya part of it. And so if you completely are chanting it proper pronunciation, that should be न्याय्येन मार्गेण महीम महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं समस्तलोकाः gap sukhino bhavantu, so that all the worlds will be in sukha. Okay, I think that is the end of the class because we chanted the swastif prajabhi paripalit. Before I chant it fully, are there any other questions, comments, queries? Sai Ramanna. Okay, what is the question, ma? Please, please ask the question, Baji.
And here we talked in the eight spectrum that you are explaining about the Meru Parvatam and Kashyapa spectrum. Is this related to Meru Parvatam? Is related to the ultimate wisdom, which is of self radiant or self effulgent that we acquire through overcoming our senses?
Don't analyze right now, as I said.
Okay.
I told Swati, don't extrapolate right off the bat. When you just give it some time, assimilate it. Don't just make up all the stuff yet. As I said, the rishis will help you, will help us. They're very compassionate. They won't leave us in the dark. Don't break your heads. We'll come to that. Stay tuned. First, do it, see it, be it. First, learn the mantra properly, chant the mantra properly, and then contemplate, understand, go deep into it. The beauty is, if you're truly chanting with all that awareness, that's the most important challenging thing. Not analyzing later and understand the meaning has to be ardhanusandhanam, anusandhanam, ardha anusandhanam. Means along, just like you're having a conversation. When you have a conversation with an individual, won't you mean what you say? Otherwise, it's called gibberish. And if you actually chant a mantra and that you're chanting that mantra integrated with what it means, then you are having a conversation mostly with yourself, and that conversation will lead you to more awareness. Okay, Sairam. Any other questions, Sairam? We're almost done here. Okay, 23. ॐ स्वस्तिः प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्याय्येन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की